of animatronics called Gen Alpha Animatronic Music, and he's the leader of it. This is a revolutionary point. We had 2016, right? 2021. Now 2025. Gen Alpha comes through. And into Simon we trust. What the fuck am I talking about? What the hell? I wouldn't be surprised if a 45-year-old woman listened to this and be like, yep, that's music now. I wouldn't be surprised. I literally saw the other day some old woman was out here literally saying that she watched Kai Cenat streams and she was 50 years old. Age is nothing but a number, you know? You know?
History can be a very dark place where a lot of shady things go down.
What just happened?
Rick James kidnapping and torturing someone to straight up murder and cannibalism.
What happened?
There have been a lot of terrible crimes committed by musicians. So today we're going to be looking into all crimes committed by musicians, starting off with
terrible crimes committed by musicians.
I got this video idea from my boy Tuv. He did a
shout out that boy
video,
Tuv.
I wanted to look at a few different examples, and I also wanted to say there's a lot of pretty dark topics in here if you couldn't tell by the intro. So just wanted to do a broad trigger warning because yeah, some of these topics are pretty bad. So without further ado,
Matty Testicles is crazy.
Big Lurch is a rapper who started his career in the 80s and moved to the Bay Area to work on his music. Probably the most notable artist he ever worked with was E40. Throughout the 90s, he was working on music and performing. He had a really unique voice and sound, and it was very promising. But in the year 2000, Big Lurch had a lot of hardship, with his grandma dying and him getting in a nearly fatal car accident. His neck was broken and he was temporarily paralyzed, so many people thought he was using PCP to cope with the pain. However, Lurch said in an interview that he hadn't smoked PCP until the night of his crime. But apparently he also said he did use it to cope with the pain, so that part is a little unclear. So eventually he signed to a label called Black Market Records, and apparently a lot of the members from this label, including the owner Milton Grimes, were Crips. Big Lurch was a Blood, so there was a bit of tension, so he moved back to his home state of Texas. Eventually though, he came back to LA to
of course this nigga's from Texas.
finish his album and moved into a dope house. In 2002, while working on his album, there was a party at his apartment. His roommate, who is a gang member, had his girl Tanisha over. He said they were passing around PCP and he only smoked weed, but he said
Why Tanisha always sound like a default character in any black movie? Like, I feel like every like old 90s 2000s movie back in the day, like it was always like the love interest always has to be, her name's like Tanisha or something with a T in it, bruh.
He tried it that night, and the next thing he knew, he woke up in an LA County jail.
What? I want to fit in, you know, I don't want to look like a punk. I smoke weed and tobacco. I don't even drink.
I smoke weed and tobacco.
I hit the red.
Texas mentioned every time.
I had been in jail for like 2 weeks.
What?
Tanisha's body was found the next day with multiple injuries and bite marks.
Oh my God.
The police found Lurch naked running through the streets, claiming he was covered in blood. They even said that they found pieces of Tanisha in Lurch's stomach. So right away, it seems like Lurch is
they found pieces of her in his stomach. Right. Pieces of her in his stomach. Right.
Is guilty of cannibalism and murder. However, many people believe that Lurch was set up by the owner of the label, Milton Grimes. This is because Grimes was assigned to be Lurch's lawyer. At the time, Lurch was on psych meds as they were pleading insanity. More specifically, he was on haloperidol, which Mayo Clinic says this medicine may cause someone to become dizzy, drowsy, or may cause trouble with thinking or controlling body movements. So
that sounds like
Lurch
a crazy
really
drug
for himself. The case that Grimes had made was pretty weak and there were a lot of holes. First of all, pleading insanity in California doesn't work when you're a voluntary drug user. It can be used if you have a history of mental illness, and Lurch had been hospitalized previously for bipolar disorder 2 times. But that wasn't brought up. As for the bite marks, Lurch said there were dogs in the house and that it was never brought up, and the bite marks were never tested. There were a lot of handprints everywhere, but they weren't used in the case. Lurch also says it was a dope house, but it was cleaned up with no drugs or guns or anything like that. And Tanisha was also found with a lot of PCP in her system, even with her mom saying she didn't use PCP, and it was too much in her system to smoke, so it was thought that it was poured down her throat. They even used some of Lurch's darker, unreleased music against him in court, which just recently became illegal. On top of all of the evidence that wasn't used in court, Milton Grimes...
Which I gotta say, though, it's gonna get very difficult when niggas niggas using lyrics as like actual evidence. I don't like it. I don't like it personally. Sometimes it can work, I guess, if the nigga's like blatant about it, but like, what if a nigga want to tell a story and like, because to be fair, right? Let's use Tyler as an example again. That man has some of the craziest shit that he said, in the beginning of that man's career. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, he was to do something crazy to get him in jail. They can literally use his first 2 albums, mixtapes, to throw that man in jail. Literally. I don't think that would be fair, but realistically, they could. Especially if it was something to do, involving a woman and, even though he says the random disclaimer line in one song and it's pretty much like supposed to not be that serious, what really stops the difference from a judge saying like, maybe you was lying about it not being serious type shit? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. I don't really like that shit, bro. Because, what if I want to say I like, something, I said something outlandish. I'm not going to say it, but like, I say something outlandish, but obviously it was like a metaphor for something. And then they take that metaphor and actually like make it really apply to me. That'd be some whole shit.
Grimes was sued for malpractice in 2004 by another client and was ordered to pay $1.2 million. Lurch himself believes that Grimes did this because he knew the DA and everyone at the court and wanted to gain favor with another case. On top
I made a song about coochie sweat
in Big Lurch's case.
What if they use that
mom
in court?
The label, claiming the label provided him with drugs to act out in a violent way.
What if they use coochie sweat in court, bro? That'd be crazy.
As a gangster rap artist. She doesn't think that Lurch killed Tanisha. She instead thinks that it was her boyfriend who was a gang member and had previous.
But to be fair though, right? If I do go to court, right? Let's say if I did something crazy, right? And I go to court, I made a song called I'm a Tree. So I can plead insanity because that will prove that I view myself as a tree. So that'd be insane. I'm thinking ahead.
Beat her before. Apparently Tanisha was about to walk out right before this happened.
I believe he the one set all this up. He was beating on her. She had all her stuff packed, ready to leave.
I could just plead insanity, bro.
All this happened.
She also points out that Tanisha was struck in the back of the neck with a scooter that belonged to one of her kids. And there was a bloody handprint on the scooter that wasn't Lurch's. So you're probably thinking, despite all of this, what about the pieces of Tanisha that were in Lurch's stomach? Well, Lurch says all they found was a very small portion of the victim, and the victim's mother thinks that Lurch was so high he may have mistaken it for a piece of meat or been tricked by the people that set him up. Regardless of all this,
he eating his girlfriend is crazy though.
2003 without parole. Following the trial and the sentencing, there was even more shady.
The only meat that you will ever find in me from my girl is the moose knuckle. That's all, bruh.
Let me stop. Happened. The label put out an album that Lurch had been working on and titled it "It's All Bad."
Oh, his
said
friend's
the original
girlfriend.
name of the album was supposed to be The Puppet Master. So this further backs what Tanisha's mom was saying about the label trying to market him as a gangster rapper. On top of that, they photoshopped a picture of Lurch holding a platter with a skull on it for the cover, clearly trying to use this case to market the album. They later released a documentary about him called "Drugs Made Me Do It," again without his permission.
Behind the biography I did called "Drugs Made Me Do It," I didn't even know that was gonna be the name, but they put it out on some Hollywood shit, and I'm a real life human, so the guards hit the building fucking with me. Drugs made me do it. Ooh, I smoke sherm.
So it's very clear that the label did profit from this incident. So whether or not you think Lurch was set up, this was a very controversial crime, and Lurch has been fighting for a retrial. And while Big Lurch has been garnering some sympathy from fans, very few people have sympathy for Varg Vikernes after he murdered someone. Varg Vikernes is one of the most notorious metal artists of all time because of his crimes and his beliefs. And you really can't make a video like this without mentioning Varg. Varg. Recently, he even saw a surge in popularity again thanks to Kanye wearing one of his shirts and releasing cover art inspired by Varg's. So Varg,
of course, Kanye. Varg who is this?
First got some popularity recording under the alias Burzum, but things really got crazy when he joined the band Mayhem. The band was fairly popular, especially because of the lead singer dead taking his life a year prior. Varg joined as a bassist and quickly became controversial. That's because
okay, I know who this is now, because I think I watched another video on this. Because if I remember correctly, he was like a bassist or a guitarist or something, one of them shits, and he killed, or I think the lead, somebody in the band killed another band member and blamed it on somebody else or some shit like that. I think, if that's what I remember. I don't know if we watched it on stream or this might have been something I watched on my own time, but I remember watching something like that based off of this. And they were like on some cultist shit, some shit like that.
Because in June of 1992, a 800-year-old church was burned down and its remains were used as the cover for one of Burzum's albums. 7 other churches were burned down around this time as well, and Varg...
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, that's kind of fire though. No pun intended. I swear I didn't mean no pun intended, but I ain't gonna lie, that's kind of fire though, like for real.
Varg was later convicted of arson. Don't worry, as that is bad, that was not the awful crime Varg was convicted of. Varg and Mayhem's guitarist Euronymous planned an interview with 2 journalists to promote black metal and to scare people, in which they basically admitted to burning down the churches, and said that they were devil worshippers. They were also trying to drive sales to Euronymous' store Helvete, which would later become a topic of divide between the two. These guys were both strange, saying that a lot of their listeners were unworthy of listening to their music, or said you had to be a Satanist to be in the black metal scene. So yeah, these guys were pretty weird. And Euronymous and Varg started beefing because Varg
they were like
thought
German,
Euronymous
right?
was too arrogant, and people also think Varg wanted Euronymous' power, which all
Scandinavian
resulted
or some
in
shit
Varg
like that.
murdering his fellow bandmate Euronymous. The story surrounding this murder has a few different perspectives and it can get a little bit murky, so I'll do my best to sum it up. Basically, Varg and another bandmate, Blackthorn, drove up to Oslo where Euronymous was staying, supposedly trying to give him a contract.
And he opened the door. When I got up in the apartment, he panicked because, he probably, he had plans to kill me, so he panicked.
That's kind of crazy though.
He kicked me in the chest. I just threw him to the ground. Suddenly he got up, trying to get his knife in the kitchen.
Imagine you in a band with somebody and this nigga trying to plot to kill you. That's crazy.
And I thought, well, if he's gonna have a knife, I'm gonna have a knife. So I had a pocket knife, this small pocket knife. Started to run off towards his bedroom, where we kept the shotgun that Dad shot himself with. It's turned out later on that he didn't have any of these things in the bedroom, but I believed it at the time. And that is the reason I followed him. And instead of going into the bedroom, he just left the building. Really.
I'm sorry.
He just started to run down the stairs. And I followed him and managed to stop him. Osets got up and attacked me again. So I finished Oset off, stabbed him in the skull, so he died immediately.
According to Varg, Euronymous attacked him first, and Varg killed him in self-defense. Varg said that Euronymous used the meeting to ambush and attack him. Euronymous had made some death threats against Varg to a few other friends and members of Mayhem. Varg said, if he was talking about it to everybody and anybody, I wouldn't have taken it seriously. But he just told a select group of friends, and one of them told me. However, Euronymous was found with 23 stab wounds, many of which were to the back, so the self-defense argument seemed a bit shaky. Blackthorn said
you gotta make sure that nigga was dead,
to kill Euronymous and that he was pressured to go with. Varg, on the other hand, said that Blackthorn just wanted to show you.
I ain't gonna lie, if a nigga trying to kill me, bruh, best believe, bitch, I'm gonna make sure that nigga, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Please don't use this in a court of law, just in case if something ever happens like this. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, if a nigga trying to kill me, making sure that nigga feel me, you feel me?
Euronymous some new guitar riffs. Another Mayhem member, Necro Butcher, said that Varg killed Euronymous because of the death threats, not in self-defense. As you can see, there are many different perspectives, but the courts sided against Varg's self-defense claims. He was arrested on August 19th. That's gonna be me and Michael Jackson when I meet him in heaven. And in his home, the police found a bunch of explosives and 3,000 rounds of ammunition. Varg was sentenced to 21 years in prison for murdering his bandmate Euronymous and burning down 3 churches. Blackthorn got 8 years for being an accomplice.
Also, I heard this man is racist as hell.
Varg started a neo-Nazi vigilante group and has not been shy about his beliefs. Nowadays, Varg is out of prison, writing vlogs, and posting online. He even recently showed his support for Kanye after Kanye wore his merch, and even showed off a Bertram-inspired album cover for Vultures. So while Varg has gotten some love from Kanye lately, after Ian Watkins discussing crimes, pretty much everyone
he's a neo. I know.
Ian Watkins was the lead singer of the band Lost Prophets, a Welsh band that has sold over 3 million albums over the years. They were known for tracks like Rooftops and Last Train Home. They formed in 1997 and put out music until 2012, when the lead singer Ian Watkins was charged with multiple counts of SA. I know I gave a trigger warning earlier, but in my opinion, this is one of the grosser entries on the list, so be warned again. But let's continue.
How do you get monetized for this? Oh Lord, let's lock in, bro. Oh God.
Apparently, even before the arrest, Ian's behaviors had been reported to the police as early as 2008, but nothing had been done about it. His bandmates said that they had no idea about what he was up to, and apparently Ian had a drug problem that they said drove them apart. Even their manager said she had no idea about what Ian was up to.
Something like that happens, and you would imagine people would know what's going on, or it would be in plain sight or anything like that, but
not the Irish accent.
It seemed a lot of things had been happening without people knowing about it, but
I mean, the level of how fucked up it was, like, sort of, I think, validates them not knowing. Because, like, there's no way any sane person could have even an inkling of what's going on. And ignore it or support it. So, there's just no way that any of them had a clue.
As they further drifted apart, Ian got his own dressing room, and apparently the abuse of children occurred more often as he had his own space. One of Ian's ex-girlfriends said that she remembers him showing her graphic images with minors, so she reported it to the police, but they didn't do anything about it. She was actually one of 6 people who spoke to the police about what Ian was up to between 2008 and 2011, so it seemed like the police were really lacking. In 2009, Watkins told his ex that he was abusing a 2-year-old child in California while the band was recording in LA. She contacted the child's parents, who also reported Watkins, but again, no police action was taken. In 2008,
I don't even know what to say to that. You know how I feel about niggas like this. You deserve the worst of worst. Death ain't enough for you, brother. I ain't gonna lie to you.
In 2010, an Australian woman also came forward claiming Ian had assaulted her child, but again, no police action was taken. Ian got arrested a couple of times in 2012 on drug charges, and the second time he got arrested, they also found CP. He pleaded not guilty to the explicit material charge, but shortly after parted ways with the band as the damage had already been done. Then, a month after leaving the band, he was arrested on a 3rd time for drug charges. As a result, in connection to the previous investigation, police searched his home as well as a computer where they found a bunch of CP. After this discovery, Watkins was arrested, then charged with conspiracy to engage in sexual activity with a 1-year-old girl, possession and
all I'm gonna say is there's a special place for you, brother. You know? That's all I'm gonna say. That's so weird. How do you even just look at a 1-year-old and say, I want to, you know? How? Like, how? That has to be like mental. I don't want to say that because that's like, I feel like that's giving him an excuse, but it's like, that you have to be mentally insane. Like, literally, not even like jokingly. That's like, you have to be mentally insane. Like, you can't really be a functioning human, like, to look at a baby in that way. Like, you have to, like, something is not right. Yeah, that's not a normal human behavior. That's, you just can't, look, I say it once, I say it again. I don't fuck with no nigga that's out here proactively trying to go and do nonsensical, unnecessary things to people that are not in their age range. But this is just, my nigga, how do you even look at a 1-year-old baby and say that, bro? Like, you're just another special, like, you know? Fuck no, man.
And or distribution of indecent images of children and extreme animal pornography. So this
animal, oh yeah, this nigga he ain't normal. He ain't normal.
Guy was clearly a sicko. Ian pled guilty to attempted sexual assault of a child under 13. He also pled guilty to 3 counts of sexual assault involving children, 6 counts of taking, making, or possessing indecent images of children, and 1 count of possessing an extreme pornographic image involving a sex act on an animal.
This nigga, what the hell? What the hell? All right, man.
One of his victims was a baby boy, and Watkins even sent a text to the boy's mother saying, "If you belong to me, so does your baby." So this stuff was just absolutely disgusting. The police investigation into Watkins was codenamed Operation Globe and involved a British intelligence agency, the GCHQ, which decrypted a hidden drive on Ian's computer which contained evidence of the abuse. The police noted that Watkins' password they decrypted read, "I fuck kids." They also said,
"Oh man, bruh. You a bitch ass nigga, bruh. You a bitch ass nigga. Yeah, bruh. Niggas like you, I'm sorry, you gotta die, bro. I'm sorry. I don't care, bro. I don't give a fuck. You have to die. Like, why do you exist? Someone like this needs no reason to be out in the world. Just life in prison. I don't even think life in prison is what he deserves, bruh. Shoot this man out of space, bro. Let him just suffocate in the voids of space, bruh. Niggas like this really exist. And you know the crazy thing is, he not even the only type of nigga that's like that on this planet, bro. There's a lot of, if he thinking like this, there's a lot of other niggas that think like this, bruh. It's one thing to be like this, but then you want to take a piss out of it, and that's your password. This your password, dog? Like, you not gonna get caught? I hate niggas that think that they can just get away with anything and they not gonna get caught, bro. Like, nigga was so confident. This nigga putting his password as that. Like, he blatant with it, bro. Like, boy. I guarantee you if he was to go to jail, though, he would definitely get killed. Because, you know, they don't play that. I don't know how, well, I don't know. I think I'm assuming he's British. I don't even think it matter where he at, to be honest with you. I don't think any prison is letting this nigga, you know, they gonna give him that just do type shit. And you know what I mean? You know what I mean, bro. Like, I feel like any prison that he go to, he not gonna be in that prison for very long. His days are numbered. So maybe it was a good I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I hope he's in jail at least. I don't know. I really hope he, you know, KYS'd himself. And I ain't talking about kissing himself either.
After Watkins' guilty plea was accepted, that on a phone call with a female fan, he referred to his crimes as mega lols. So after all of that, in 2013, Ian Watkins was sentenced to 29 years in prison for multiple sexual offenses. He was charged with essaying young children.
Yeah, I doubt he's alive now. And good. I don't care. Good for that. Good. I hope he ain't alive. How about that?
And infants, and he also was charged with possession of extreme CP and also animal
I hope
materials.
You're not alive, brother.
He also got a sentence increased by 10 months after they caught him with a phone in prison. The judge said that the case plunged into new depths of depravity. A senior officer of the investigating team described Ian as a committed, organized and potentially the most dangerous sex offender he had ever dealt with. As you can imagine, the situation absolutely destroyed the name of the band, the rest of the Lost Prophets members' careers, and even their label.
Yeah, it's just really, really hard for them to have everything taken away, especially because they'd invested. I mean, these are people with why.
I'm gonna be honest, if I found out, if I was in a band and I had a nigga like that in my group, I don't even know what I would do. Cause like when somebody like this happens, you're automatically associated by proxy, even if you're not even on that type of timing. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even know what I would do. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even know. I would probably my days will be numbered. That's all I'm gonna say. Cause I don't think I could ever. That's the worst thing that a nigga can happen to me is be labeled as somebody that's around these type of niggas. There's no way I would want that going around in my life. Like niggas, like, you know, you can't even recover from it. Like, nigga, it don't just affect you, it affects everybody around you. These niggas, like, it's, you know, I would rather be associated with a murderer than a nigga like a, you know, a PDF file, bro. Worst person to be associated with? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, this, I don't even know. Because I can't have a career now. Like, I literally can't have a career at all because of him. Like, he literally single-handedly ruined 3 other niggas' lives on top of the victims. Like, you really ruined my life. Honestly, I would, if I'm gonna be honest, if I was one of the band members, that nigga would not be on this earth no more. That's all I'm gonna say. That nigga would not be on this earth. I'm not gonna say what or how it's gonna happen, but he will not be on this earth. You're not about to ruin my life because you were a weirdo and I didn't know anything about this. Fuck you, nigga. You not gonna, your days is numbered, pal.
Wives, kids, everything. It was a good living for them, and everything like that's taken away in one go. And you got to reevaluate your life and think, why have you spent all the time doing that? It's horrendous, and for such a great bunch of creative people as well.
A few years later, Ian was caught trying to groom a young mother of a 2-year-old girl through a series of letters from behind bars. Again, the officers were negligent and assumed that these were just crazy rumors from a fan or something like that. But on the bright side of all this, in 2023, Ian was taken hostage by 3 other inmates who stabbed him and then released him 6 hours later. The weapon they used was a sharpened toothbrush, and they stabbed him over a drug debt. So yeah, rightfully so, everyone in the industry.
Thank you. That's the only positive thing that came out of this. Y'all should have finished the job, nigga.
He hates this guy. He's probably one of the most disgusting people on this list. And I think Corey Taylor summed it up very well when he said,
it was Metallica, us, and Lost Prophets. Yeah. Hey-o! All right, yeah. That dude. Yeah, he's a mess. There's not enough pain in the world for that.
Yeah. And while there's no justifying what Ian Watkins did, well, I don't know. There's not an excuse for Rick James either, but he did some pretty crazy stuff. What did Rick James was a very popular singer, songwriter, and record producer. He had a very long career in the music business. And
I'm sorry, seeing this and then looking at the Dave Chappelle skit, it's just like, bro, Dave Chappelle literally looked like this man. Dave Chappelle really looked like this man back in the day, bro. What the fuck? Like, bro, this is like 1 for 1, bro. No. No. Oh, I put David. My bad. No. Nigga, he literally looks exactly like him. No, this is actually insane. This is actually insane. Hell nah. Nah, bro. Hell nah. I wonder how Dave Chappelle feels about this skit now that, you know,
a very popular singer, songwriter, and record producer. He had a very long career in the music business and had multiple albums go gold, with his track Street Songs going platinum. He also had the hit song Super Freak, which, fun fact, never actually...
Actually, never mind. I have heard that song. This song must have a different meaning now.
Won a Grammy, but when MC Hammer sampled it for Can't Touch This, then he got a Grammy. So I thought that was interesting. Well, regardless, you guys know who Rick James is.
I'm Rick James, bitch!
One thing that was very well known about Rick James is that he suffered from drug addiction to many different drugs. His drug habits led to multiple hospitalizations.
Off into drugs then at that time, seriously, and
damn,
it was like a time in my life when things were happening real fast, and
I like his hair though.
I didn't quite have a serious grip on, on things.
On top of this, he had suffered a stroke from a blood vessel which burst during a show. Then he had hip replacement, which was also attributed to jumping around on stage, and substance abuse. His drug addiction also caused problems in areas.
I'm not gonna lie, back in the day, like, niggas had some really, like, good hair back in the day. Like I don't know what year this is, but like in the 50s and the 60s. I know why they had to do it though, but you know, obviously for racial reasons, but I'm not gonna lie. I think we need a renaissance of this high key though. No, not really. Nah, never mind. Y'all keep y'all afros. Fuck it. I don't think we need that, bro. I might do it though. Well, actually, I don't know. I kind of wanna get like a haircut like this, high key, like a bowl cut. I don't know what a bowl cut would look like on a black person though. That gotta look nasty. I've never seen a black person with a bowl cut in my life, but I always wanted one for some reason. I don't know why, but I always want one, bro. I don't know how it's gonna look on me, but might have to be a future.
Other than his health, because at one point during his coke addiction for about 5 years straight, Rick James says he was spending $7,000 a week on drugs, and it was also this drug use.
I do not want to see what that looks like.
It was a month ago yesterday that Rick James was arrested along with his girlfriend Tanya Hijazi for allegedly imprisoning a 24-year-old woman in his Hollywood Hills home, torturing her allegedly with a hot cocaine pipe and forcing.
What? No, run that back, because I was about to say something totally different. I was about to say black people here really is probably one of the most flexible hair type shit, if we're gonna really be honest. I don't know. I know that that's a conversation for another day, but if you really think about it, like, if you really think about it, black people probably got the most flexible type of hair for real. If we're really gonna be honest.
In his Hollywood Hills home, torturing her allegedly with a hot cocaine pipe and forcing her to commit sexual acts on his girlfriend Tanya Hijazi.
Wow. During a week-long binge, James and his girlfriend at the time, Tanya, were arrested on charges of kidnapping a 24-year-old girl and holding her hostage.
And I'm talking about Variety too.
They tied her up, forced her to perform sexual acts, and burned her legs and abdomen with the hot end of a crack pipe.
Okay.
According to police, the 25-year-old alleged
fuck Rick James, I guess.
Victim claims she met Rick James and his female companion at a party. She says the trio then returned here to James' Hollywood home. It was on the nights of July 16th and 17th that alleged victim claims she became a virtual prisoner here, held at gunpoint, even tied up and tortured, she claims, by being burnt with the hot end of a crack cocaine pipe.
If convicted on all these charges, Rick James faced life in prison for assault with a deadly weapon, aggravated mayhem, torture, forcible oral copulation, false imprisonment, and kidnapping. A year later, while out on bail for those charges, he and his girlfriend then kidnapped another girl. This time, it was a music executive who thought she was meeting up with Rick and Tanya for a business meeting. The executive claims that over the 20-hour period that she was held hostage, she was beaten. Rick James was found guilty on both occasions, but he nearly avoided the torture charge, which could have put him away for life. While serving his 5-year sentence, James lost a civil suit to the executive and was forced to pay her nearly $2 million. After serving a little over 2 years, James was released. At just 56 years old, Rick James was found dead in his home due supposedly to natural causes. His official cause of death was...
Okay, I mean, y'all may call me ignorant, but I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know the nigga was dead. Goddamn. I don't know. Sometimes, you'll see somebody be like, are these niggas actually dead? I mean, to be fair, I'm not thinking about Rick James, like, at all. But it's like, I don't know why I thought it looked like the nigga was still alive. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
From pulmonary failure and cardiac failure. His autopsy did
it's the way that Maddie was explaining it seemed like he was still alive.
So it's possible these aided in his downfall. However, the coroner did say none of the drugs or drug combinations were found to be at levels that were life-threatening in and of themselves. So it's unfortunate that Rick James' drug problem caused so many issues for him throughout his life. And while Rick James' crimes were motivated by drugs, Gigi Allen was just insane. Gigi Allen is an artist who I feel like his life needs a little bit of a backstory. Like how his dad...
I have literally watched a whole documentary about Gigi Allen, like unironically. Now, to be fair, the first time I ever heard about this man unironically was Uzi, because I was like, I fuck with Uzi heavy, and this man talk about Gigi Allen. I'm like, this got to be a great guy. This man has one of the worst Disney backstories of all time. This man has the literal like backstory of the Joker, man. Like, it's actually interesting. I don't remember the exact documentary was, but it was on YouTube. It was by some other YouTuber. I forgot it was. It might have been Tuv. Was it? I don't know. It was somebody. And I watched that whole shit. I'm like, damn. Just put it in perspective. No, it was I was watching about alternative rock artists or some shit. Or was it? Something like that. I forgot what it was. I'll probably try to find it later. But yeah, it was this man Gigi, man. This man he's not the greatest person. He's not a good person, but drug is one hell of a drug, whatever. Whatever that nigga Rick James said or Dave Chappelle said.
Dad named him Jesus Christ.
Cocaine is a hell of a
Gigi's
drug.
father was a religious fanatic that threatened his family with death and even dug graves in their cellar, often saying he would fill them soon. His father despised pleasure and allowed his family very little contact with others. The family lived a primitive existence and were more like prisoners than a family. The most ironic part is that Gigi said he was glad to experience that kind of upbringing because it made him a warrior soul at an early age. Because of his rough upbringing, he was a bad student, so they placed him in special ed classes and they forced him to repeat the 3rd grade. According to his brother, Gigi was bullied a lot.
It's really just crazy though, like, I'm sorry I keep on pausing, but it's just really crazy to like how much you grow up really affects you as a person, and how if you ever notice a pattern of any bad or horrible person, their life was just horrible the whole time. And it's like it almost comes to a point to make it almost feel like you want to feel sorry for a nigga, but then you realize, do you really feel sorry for a nigga? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because he still did the acts, but it's like the nigga life was horrible. It's like, I don't know. It's just it's a line that's like very crazy to like try to like understand for real. Cause I wanna give some niggas the benefit of the doubt, but it's like at the same time, it's like a lot of these niggas do is unexcusable, and I don't even really feel like, you know, like I don't know, man. Like growing up, the worse you grow up, I feel like the more of a sickness it is for that person. And it's like, it's almost to a point where a nigga is unavoidable to being a horrible person when you grow up horrible.
A lot for being non-conforming, and in high school he started cross-dressing. Gigi himself describes his childhood as very chaotic, full of chances and danger. We sold drugs, stole, broke into houses, cars, did whatever we wanted to for the most part, including all the bands we played in. People even hated us back then. So it makes sense why this guy ended up kinda nuts. During his career, he made mainly punk rock, shock rock, and outlaw country. He performed with a bunch of bands throughout his career, and the main reason for him being placed in the shock rock genre is because of his live performances. On stage, he would self-mutilate, poop on stage, and assault audience members, all of which he has been arrested and imprisoned for multiple times. He's been labeled the most spectacular degenerate in rock and roll history and the toughest rock star in the world.
And the thing is that people that were around this man said that he's probably one of the most nicest people they ever met. But it's like it goes again. It's like, damn. Like, bro, like, I don't know, bro.
So honestly, most of his notoriety comes from his stage performances and all his antics, even though his music really wasn't that bad. However, his music was often poorly recorded, produced, distributed, and received, but because of his personality and his antics, he developed a cult following. During a famous interview known as Gigi's Last before his death, he openly stated that he would take his own life or take his fans with him. When asked for clarification, he doubled down and said that he would either kill himself or kill his fans and then himself. He stated, "It's like I've got this wild soul that just wants to get out of this life. It's too confined in this life. I think to take yourself out at your peak, if you could die at your peak, your strongest point, then your soul will be that much stronger in the next existence." After this, he made a claim about the fact that he could sleep with minors, girls and boys, and animals, and then he claimed that he R-worded both women and men at his concerts. So clearly this guy was nuts and said a lot of crazy messed up things, and it seems like based on his claims he wasn't lying. In 1989, Allen was arrested and charged with assault with intent to do great bodily harm less than murder to a female acquaintance. At first, Gigi denied the claim, stating that the woman was a willing participant in their sexual activities. He did admit to cutting her, burning her, and drinking her blood, but he insisted that she did the same thing to him. Allen
see what happened was, like, we were just trying to have fun, I was just like, a little cut play, Your Honor, you never drunk blood before? Like, like, nigga, what? What?
Also said that there were a lot of major inconsistencies in the woman's story, but in the end he ended up accepting a plea deal which reduced the charge to a felony assault. As a result, he was imprisoned for 2 years. In the months and years before his death, Gigi's fame grew substantially, making appearances on big shows like Jerry Springer. His last show ever ended after just 3 songs when a fight broke out, and then him and his fans went parading throughout the streets. He went back to a friend's apartment to keep the party going, and at this party he ingested a large amount of heroin which caused an overdose and killed him. His friends didn't actually realize that he was dead, so they took a Polaroid picture with his corpse until they realized he was dead, and then they called an ambulance. After being buried, his grave was frequently vandalized by fans with urine, poop, cigarette butts, and alcohol, all of which was discouraged by Gigi's mother, and in 2010 the tombstone was removed entirely after it was knocked off its base by a fan. So I didn't really focus too much on the crime in this section, but I just thought this guy was crazy. I've heard some stories about him, so I wanted
Nigga, imagine you are a fan of somebody and you went to their grave. Imagine if X fans threw poop at his man's grave. That's crazy.
I wanted to tell you guys because it's just nuts. But if you guys did like this video, you may be interested in one of my videos on some of the darkest songs ever written. If you are, make sure to click the video that's on screen right now.
Wait, have we watched this? Have we watched this? I don't think we have, because I see Immortal Technique. I see Immortal Technique, and I know exactly what song that he's referencing. You don't think so? Yeah, this was insane. I'm not gonna lie. This was insane. I'm gonna be honest though, they weren't really that bad except for the Ian Watkins guy. Fuck that guy, honestly. Rick James, his was bad though. I'm not gonna lie. Rick James was bad. The Varg, whatever. That was bad. But I already knew about that one. Never heard of the big large guy. And Gigi, we already knew all about that. I already knew that whole story. There's a lot more that he could have said on Gigi though, but I'm pretty sure that would have been a whole video in itself. Yeah, the only guy I really just like was really bad was the Ian Watkins guy. Yeah, fuck that nigga. Fuck that guy. I'm glad he got what he deserved, bro. He deserves worse. Immortal Technique, yeah. They seemed bad until the Ian dude did the worst shit. Yeah, his shit was like literally like all the other shit everybody else has done has nowhere near. I mean, maybe the one where Gigi was out here stabbing and, you know, biting a bitch, but that's still nowhere close of trying to do tomfoolery with a 1-year-old child. I don't think that, you know, no disrespect to that lady. A lot of times we no disrespect to that lady, but, you know, like, yeah, that's, you know, shit was it. Well, I think it's about that time, y'all. I think it's about that time.